Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous flight and the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Land of the free, home of the brave. You know, in this country, there's supposed to be liberties that a lot of other countries don't have. I was born here in Philadelphia. In fact, I was born at home. I didn't even have to be born in the hospital. I was born at home with a midwife. And in Philadelphia, my family was kind of poor. In fact, we had a little modest house here in Philadelphia, and in the wintertime, we would stay here in Philadelphia, and we would grow up during school time. But in the summertime, we lived in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And we would go back and forth, and life was as different as the South was from the North. Here in Philadelphia, in our modest little home, my father, he was a construction worker, and my mother, she was a homemaker. And there were 6 children, and we had to split life between 6 children, and life for me was no crystal stairs. There were many days when we struggled and we suffered, and sometimes we couldn't even keep the lights on. And there were other times when we didn't even have heat, but we made it. But we would go to North Carolina in the summertime, and when we would go to North Carolina in the summertime, life was different. We didn't have electric in North Carolina. We had those oil lanterns. And in North Carolina, we didn't have heat. We used to have to bring the coal in to put into the potbelly stoves. Some of you might remember that. We didn't have water. My brother and I, we used to have to sometimes take turns, and we would pump the well and prime the well, and pump the well and prime the well until the water would come out of the ground. And we had an outhouse, and that's where our bathroom was, and it was way down the field a piece. And of course, at night, nobody was going out there to use no bathroom because the snakes and those big old flying bugs would be coming out of that doggone hole, and nobody was going out there at no nighttime. So we had pans underneath the beds, and every single morning it was somebody's chore to wake up and clean those pans and, of course, the slop jar. My granddaddy, he used to chew tobacco. And I can tell you one thing, that next morning, that slop jar would be filled all the way up to the top. And we would be fighting, you clean it, no, I ain't clean it, now you clean it, no, I ain't clean it, now you clean it. But life was tough. I even remember when we would travel from North Carolina to Philadelphia and from Philadelphia to North Carolina, there was times when we would stop along the way to use the bathroom. And when we would go to the bathroom, there were bathrooms that were marked whites only and colored. And we could only go into colored bathrooms, and outside of the bathroom, there would be 2 water fountains, and one would be marked whites only and colored. And coming from the north, we didn't understand that kind of thing. We would say, Daddy, why we got to go over there and drink in that water fountain? He said, shut up, boy, go over there and drink. And it was different. In fact, I even remember we were driving one day on our way to a family's house, and we were going all the way down the road a piece, and the car would be brinking because the potholes were big. We didn't have sidewalks during those times. It was just dirt roads. And I remember as we were driving, I saw a man hanging from the tree, and my mother grabbed a blanket and she covered us up real quick, but it was too late. That memory will forever be etched in my mind. And I lived seeing him hang every day. But we learned a lot of lessons. My mom and daddy used to teach us a whole lot of lessons. Lessons that I still live with even to this day. My daddy used to say things like, boy, you have your friends and you have your money. If you give your friends your money, you'll lose your friends and you'll lose your money. And my mama, she would sometimes say, a man that doesn't always have so much to say won't always have as much to take back. And sometimes she'd say, son, it ain't going to be that way always. And my daddy, he would come back and he would say, well, I'll tell you one thing. If you ever live to be the ripe age of about 80, you only have about 3 real friends. And of those 3, one will be dead, so you only end up with 2. And of those 2, one will live so far away you wouldn't have seen him for years, and so you only end up with 1. And of that 1, you don't even know what would have happened to him, so he says, son, you'll always end up with yourself. You gotta learn how to love yourself. So we learned a lot of lessons. And I'll tell you one thing. I talked to my sister the other day, yesterday, and she told me, see, my parents, they are both close to 80. And she said, Mommy and Daddy got up early this morning, and they went to vote. And I'll tell you one thing. If my mama was here right now, she would say something like, son, doesn't matter who won that election. Always remember one thing. God is in control, and he's going to take care of all of us. So I learned those lessons, and I keep them with me every day. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the